Stewie Griffin is best known as an evil baby genius hell-bent on world domination. At least that's what he used to be known as. But despite going from murderous infant to cynical, flamboyant kid, Stewie still has plenty of kills under his belt to rival even Peter. So today we're taking a look at every kill Stewie has in the show, while also analyzing how Stewie's evolved over the years to hopefully better understand his character. Similar to the Peter video, we won't be counting instances of mass murder that don't have a confirmed kill count or a population size that can be hypothesized on. So Stewie triggering the destruction of entire countries is in, but detonating a nuke in Quahog with unclear parameters is not. We'll also be including different variants of Stewie from parody episodes and retellings, mostly because it's more fun that way. And we're starting with the first episode to have a reported Stewie kill, Chitty Chitty Death Bang, where he actually offs 2 people.
What are they paying you? I'll double it. I'll give you whatever you want. Money, women, men.
So his first ever kill comes at the expense of a friendly airport security man, who gives Stewie a little pep talk about facing his fears before being turned into a human-sized popsicle.
I only hope my heartfelt thanks will keep you warm as you spend the next 10 years in frozen carbonite!
Well, I suppose Stewie's plan wasn't to outright kill him, but I also don't think we as a society have figured out the nuances of freeing someone from carbonite. But Leia made it look so easy! And since 2009 rolled by without us seeing that guy anywhere, we'll assume he didn't make it. But Stewie's second kill would come at the end of the episode, as he disintegrates a man in white who he believes to be the doctor that delivered him.
What the hell is this? It's a boy!
Just to be clear, he isn't a doctor, he's actually a cult leader. So even if this kill was totally misguided, you can't really say it was a bad thing, can you? So with 2 kills already, he's certainly starting strong. Most kids don't commit their first murder before they figure out how to use the toilet. So this is Stewie in what we'll call his evil baby era. This is the time period when Stewie was a bit more one note than we know him to be now, with his main goals being to kill Lois and eventually take over the world. I was just trying not to choke to death on everyday objects when I was his age. Both equally respectable goals.
Damn you, vile woman! You've impeded my work since the day I escaped from your wretched womb.
From the jump, Stewie is established as the one Griffin you want to look out for, showing matricidal and homicidal tendencies while also being armed with an impressive collection of weapons. A very clear example of the trend of parents downright spoiling the youngest child. Same thing happened to me growing up. My younger brother got the grenades and bazookas and I got the socks. Why would you get a clam socks? They just get wet immediately.
What the deuce are you staring at? It's tuna fish. And nothing else.
And Stewie would put those weapons to good use in Season 2's Peter Caviar Eater, where he does away with 2 ghostly twins.
It's all work and no play makes Stewie a dull boy.
See, your rocket launcher was all Danny needed, not a talking finger. But one does have to wonder how exactly you kill a ghost. I guess we don't even really know if those girls in this scene were actually ghosts or just weird. Either way, Stewie decided that they're better off in a bunch of little tiny pieces, so that's another 2 to the kill count. Believe it or not, Stewie would actually get a lot more sensible later in the show's run, but back then, he was of the mindset that you shoot first, ask questions never. It was always, damn you this, and I'm going to kill you that. Pretty barbaric for a kid who talks like one of the snootiest of snoots.
And when I do, Mother, victory shall...
But despite all the megalomaniac grandstanding, Stewie was still, at the end of the day, just a baby. A highly competent genius baby, but still a victim to many of the limitations that come with being a toddler, like constantly needing a nap and being incredibly short. Our 5'7" viewers out there know what I'm talking about, right?
Damn my small stature! If I were big... Oh, just think where I would be.
I don't know, leading the Oklahoma City Thunder to their 2nd NBA championship? So during this era, despite showing signs of being a serious threat, Stewie's melding of world domination and childish tendencies was mostly mashed together for absurdist comedy. The show wasn't really trying to achieve any real emotional depth or introspection. His role was just basically boiled down to, wouldn't it be funny if a baby were a wannabe dictator? And you know what? Yes, it was. But after returning from cancellation and starting Season 3, Stewie's character began to get a little softer on the villainy and lean more into the comedic side of the character. And some of that is even seen in his kills, like when he decided to play the role of the devil in Lethal Weapons, which potentially gives an old woman a heart attack.
Aren't you precious?
Now, she could have just fainted and not actually died of a heart attack, but did you see how she just Ric Flair front flopped after that? At her frail age, you weren't surviving too many of those, so I'm just gonna assume one way or another, Stewie added that sweet old lady to his list.
Remember, if it ain't funny, it ain't worth jack.
And that would kind of be the motto the show would take with Stewie going forward, leaning more towards putting him in comedic situations rather than just simple acts of villainy. Don't get me wrong, the violence is still there. You can't exactly expect him to go cold turkey on that kind of stuff. So while the show began to steer him towards being more directly comical, killing a bunch of people was never beneath him. And though they might not technically count as people, those little guys running around in Peter's nether regions in a Mission Impossible look close enough to people that we're counting everyone Stewie destroys.
Do you know what today is? A bad day to be a
And don't even think about arguing about the logistics of conception and whether or not these guys are technically alive. If they can get dressed up in their cute little uniforms, they're close enough to people and can be counted on this list. And if we were to count every flying craft that was destroyed and all the ones that were shot on the ground, we hit about 60 casualties. But don't cry for them. Peter will produce millions more by the end of the day. Isn't science gross and neat? But the tail end of Season 3 and the beginning of Season 4 would see the character of Stewie take a major shift, with the catalyst for this most likely being his emerging friendship with Brian. Season 3's road to Europe began to signify a change in Stewie's motives and goals, where he moves from wanting something as narratively basic as world domination towards something more introspective as ego, self-image, and being validated. Usually you gotta be a teenager to get to all that, but he just develops faster than most, doesn't he? It won't be long until he has a midlife crisis at 10.
I feel like such a fool. Don't even look at me.
At this point, Stewie's more serious character traits were put on the back burner in favor of comedic situations stemming from the fact that he's a baby who also happens to speak eloquently. He remains a genius, and an evil one at that, but his intelligence becomes a bit more flexible to mold into different situations. And one of those examples involves Stewie lusting after his babysitter, which drives him to kidnap her boyfriend Jeremy, eventually leading to his demise in 8 Simple Rules for Buying My Teenage Daughter.
This is Jeremy.
Hey, little man. So you're the guy who's been trying to steal my girlfriend.
So in an effort to seduce his cute new babysitter, Stewie realizes that he'll need to get her pesky little boyfriend out of the picture.
I say, I think this is how you change a tire, but what do I know? I'm just a baby!
I mean, that's how I change a tire. Mostly because I just get frustrated and end up beating my car with a tire iron. So Stewie stuffs the guy in the trunk, but when LaDawn doesn't reciprocate his feelings and is later fired, Stewie kinda just forgets about him.
I suppose neither of us is really cut out for love, and oh my god, Jeremy's still in the trunk!
And this is 2 weeks later, so unless Jeremy worked up an appetite for the carpet lining the trunk, he's most likely dead. But I guess we should also blame Brian for not hearing Jeremy kicking around back there. I won't ask for reasons, but it kind of feels like Brian may have wanted that kid dead too. Jeremy must have been a mailman in training or something. And Stewie would succeed in taking out one of his most hated celebrities, Matthew McConaughey, in the episode You May Now Kiss the, Guy Who Receives.
There's a big new airport out in the middle of the ocean. Keep going, you can't miss it.
Roger that.
So Stewie first tries to do away with the Hollywood actor by redirecting his private jet to land in the ocean, but that proves to be unsuccessful. I mean, have you seen Fool's Gold? This is just another Monday for McConaughey. But when Matthew shows up at the house seeking revenge, Stewie goes with a much more direct approach.
Yeah, I'm looking for a guy named Stewie. Ow!
Chris, grab his legs, I gotta bury this thing.
Wait,
Grab his legs!
Well, I guess Chris is complicit in a murder now, but if there's one thing I've learned from Matthew McConaughey, it's that sometimes there is a time to kill. And Stewie would also dispose of 2 other similarly disliked figures, Johnny and Vern, in Saving Private Brian.
Okay, they're dead, alright? We're not gonna be seeing them again.
Was this a bold, artistic metaphor for the death of vaudeville, or just a fan-fulfilling act of brutal violence on 2 less-than-liked characters? I'll let you be the judge of that, but maybe don't mourn for them too hard. After all, we do know what ended up happening to Johnny.
You're probably wondering why he's in hell. Johnny liked little boys.
And it was around this time that one of the more controversial changes to Stewie's character began to take shape, his ambiguous sexuality. While earlier episodes more often than not implied Stewie was straight, there were a few minor nods to him potentially swinging the other way. That being said, around season 4 and 5, the show started to really lean into the more flamboyant side of the character.
What does that make you, boy?
Queer?
Right!
Oh, I got it?
Yeah!
Well, maybe not so much a lean as a full head-first dive into the deep end. But much like his intelligence and his villainy, this too would remain flexible throughout the show. Because after all, he does end up marrying Olivia, which eventually leads to him trying to kill her, and while he doesn't succeed, it seems he does get her little play date out of the picture in shit cancer.
Is that the silly putty I bought you this weekend?
So when you find your wife playing with another man's silly putty, and no, that is not a euphemism, what do? If your answer is anything that's not burn them alive inside a house, then congratulations, you're going another day without being labeled a complete psychopath.
Idea for a farce. Cheating wife and pompous ass burned alive.
But despite Stewie's intentions, Olivia does show up in a later episode, not nearly as mad about the whole burning alive thing, we should add. Her playmate Victor, however, doesn't appear to be as lucky, so despite attempting a double homicide, we can really only give Stewie credit for a single boring old homicide. Better luck next time, kiddo. And while Stewie didn't directly kill someone in Peter's Two Dads, his negligence did lead to a death, so it just might count for something.
She is messed up, man!
Shut up! Just shut up! Let me think!
Didn't think this is how Mother Teresa went out, and I especially didn't know Stewie was involved in it. Actually, the story of her death was different, but not without its own strange occurrences. But for this Mother Teresa, we're going to classify it as a kill for Stewie, born out of medical negligence by pushing an OD patient flat on her face. Plus, she hits the Family Guy death pose, so you just know it's bad after that.
Push her out!
We can't leave her alone!
Push the out!
And Stewie would seamlessly slip into the role of Darth Vader for the first Star Wars parody, Blue Harvest, perhaps reeling in his biggest ever death toll with the destruction of Alderaan. Apparently, the canon death toll for the destruction of Alderaan was 2 billion, so we're gonna go ahead and apply that here. I'm sure Leia's sad that everyone she knew and loved is dead, but being Leia, the last of the Alderaanians, does have a certain cool ring to it. See, it's all about finding the silver lining, but Stewie as Vader would have a bit more of a direct hand in a death later in the episode when he struck down Ben Kenobi.
Boy, you got here just in time.
No!
I know. Did he really have to do that little spin move when he did it? You're not 360 no-scoping him, dude, he's right in front of you. And he would also finish off this episode by landing a kill on one of the ships tasked with destroying the Death Star.
I'm coming, Elizabeth!
That guy wasn't even properly dressed for this kind of mission anyway. If you're gonna die by Lord Vader's hands, you should at least come dressed for the part. And Stewie would once again turn his killing to the stars of Hollywood when he decided to take out Colin Farrell and Believe It or Not, Joe's Walking on Air.
Got a lot going on under there, yeah? Under the wool cap?
Stewie just hates posers, I guess, because it's not like Colin's doing anything bad or anything directly to Stewie. But if you're gonna go around misspelling fresh like that, you accept the consequences that may come.
My God, this is ridiculous. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to kill you.
And scenes like this would kind of become a trend with Stewie's character, as he's often used as the voice of the team to speak their displeasure about something, usually someone in Hollywood. And the targets can't get mad because then they'd be getting mad at a baby. It's a foolproof plan. This is a trait of Stewie's that's extended well into the later seasons of the show, often being chosen as the mouthpiece to commentate on the absurdity of the modern age or the particular people that inhabit it.
You think it's funny, talking about earrings and using words like fabulous and delicious and wet?
But every now and then, Stewie would return to his old tendencies, like when he does away with a beloved friend of the family in the misleadingly titled Lois Kills Stewie.
Hey, Griffins, just checking in.
Holy crap!
What's even more surprising is that in an episode where Stewie actually takes over the world, that's his only kill in the entire plot. You can't really give him a pass for becoming a dictator, but you do have to hand it to him for doing it relatively peacefully. Right? No? Okay, maybe not.
I don't understand why I need to give you a credit card imprint.
It's kind of a new policy.
And Stewie would decide to get a little insurance money by blowing up a house in Peter's daughter, completely forgetting he and Brian weren't the only ones in the house.
We're gonna want to be leaving now.
Why?
Because I just emptied a full tank of gasoline and lit a match. We've got about 5 seconds.
Hey, if anything, it's a pretty impressive pyrotechnics display you'll get to see 30 times from every possible angle. Although I do bet the electrician that was still inside there probably would have enjoyed seeing it from the outside instead.
Well, by God, Brian, we're murderers. I guess this means you'll be going to doggy hell.
But Stewie's next kill would be a bit more justified, as he slaughtered the dog bought to replace Brian in The Man with Two Brians.
And we especially don't like the way you humped that chair in the den.
Well, Rupert seems to like my humping.
I don't know the first thing about how dog and stuffed animal relations work, but something tells me it's not the most consensual of relationships. But Stewie's killing for Rupert's honor could be a sign that those two are meant to be together. And new Brian's limbs? Well, Stewie thinks they're better off apart. And Stewie would seemingly kill one of his idols in Not All Dogs Go to Heaven after he beams in the entire cast of Star Trek The Next Generation.
But you're a baby.
Yes, that's right, Denise Crosby.
Well, I guess that might have just been his least favorite character on the show. I'm kinda surprised Stewie didn't end up killing the rest of the cast by the end of this, considering they proved to be far more annoying. Well, RIP Denise Crosby. You probably would have loved McDonald's.
What time do they stop serving breakfast?
It's 3 o'clock.
Some of them serve breakfast all day.
No, serve breakfast all day!
This episode, and a few others from around this time period, also started to bring Stewie's technical ability back into the forefront of the character. While many episodes revolving around Stewie put more of a focus on his emotions and identity, episodes nearing the beginning of the 2010s started to bring out the technologically advanced side of him more.
My time machine has been activated.
Time machine? I didn't know you had a time machine.
Well, you'd better get familiar with it, Brian, because for the next couple of years, it's going to play some of the biggest roles in yours and Stewie's adventures. This skew towards the more sci-fi-centric plots honestly seemed to help revitalize the show in the middle of its run, providing more possibilities for the show's characters. And despite the show making Stewie a bit more humanly fallible, this pivot into the more out-there ideas of these seasons gave Stewie a bit more competence and control over situations, while still falling into infantilization when the show calls for it. In our opinion, this was the peak of Stewie's characterization. He really could wear so many hats in the show, and you know how much that boy loves hats.
What's everybody looking at? The salesman told me it was unisex.
He also loves wigs, something he would don when he dressed as a pretty apt Stephen King character before separating Joe's legs from his body in the Misery parody from the episode 3 Kings.
Oh my god, I'm saved! Let's get out of here before Stewie gets back!
I guess in every reality, Joe just isn't meant to have legs. It must be like the Ark of the Covenant, a force too powerful for the eyes of us mere mortals.
Now I'm gonna have to spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair.
No, you're not.
And Stewie, or at least a king from the past who looks and sounds exactly like him, decides he's bored with his kingly entertainment in Peter's Progress and decides to get rid of them.
Are you sure you want to delete this program?
Yes.
The cast of How I Met Your Mother never stood a chance. They were just too ahead of their time, and you never really know what you have until it's gone. But I'd be good with How I Met Your Father being gone. I think I know exactly what I have with that, and I'm not crazy about it. And Stewie's following kill would get a little more personal in Hannah Banana, although this isn't a deleted scene.
Recognize him, Brian?
No.
It's your brother. I found him for you, buddy.
What? Jerry?
But this isn't some happy little family reunion done out of the goodness of Stewie's heart. Actually, quite the opposite.
Ah! Oh my god! Oh my god! What did you do? I killed him, Brian.
All this over some Hannah Montana tickets. Yeah, Swifties didn't exactly invent stan culture, but this might be the first time it's caused someone's head to literally explode. Stewie claims he needs Brian's help to get the tickets, but really, I think he was just looking for an excuse to use that bomb collar. And while we don't get to see the next kills in the episode Doggone, we do get an admission of guilt, so that's good enough for us.
How would you feel if you killed a baby?
Well, I've killed 7, but the point is you might feel better if you just confess to what you've done.
Okay, but now we kind of want to know the how and the why of it all. Did they cut in the snack line? Throw up on his arts and crafts? Disagree with him on the deeper meanings of the corruption of social norms found within the works of Oscar Wilde? Well, whatever childish activity triggered it, we'd be hard-pressed to believe it was deserved. But Stewie would use his killing skills for good by landing a pretty impressive sniper shot on a murderous Diane Simmons in And Then There Were Fewer. Looks like someone got a little jealous about someone else getting to fulfill their lifelong mission. Diane just showed Stewie it'd be so easy. Hell, he could have done it right now, with no witnesses, and yet he still doesn't want to pull the trigger.
If anybody's gonna take that down, it's gonna be me.
Yeah, do you have a timetable on that? It's honestly fine if you don't kill her, but talking all this game years later and not doing it just makes you look like an obstetrician without hands. You just can't deliver. But Stewie would deliver a significant spree of deaths right before Christmas, from causing multiple cars to explode to brutalizing a family in their own home en route to the North Pole.
Oh, it's a flare gun.
Maybe you should put that back.
I'm just holding it. Is this the trigger?
So after errantly firing off a flare inside the truck, the driver crashes through traffic as the hull bursts into flames, eventually leading to the whole thing exploding. When you see the situation of a truck driver picking up a baby, you probably wouldn't think that the baby is the dangerous one. So while this caused quite the pileup, it'd be hard to determine how many died, especially considering several people got out of their cars to look around afterwards. So we'll just go with the one confirmed kill because we don't think that trucker could survive all that. Nothing personal, man. I just don't know you well enough to hype you up as a survivor. And the next possible kills would come when Stewie and Brian try to be Santa, but end up having to take matters into their own hands when the resident at their first stop tries to call the cops.
What the hell did you do?
He was gonna call the cops, man!
Honestly, someone should have called the cops on Santa a long time ago. I got a house with no chimney for the explicit purpose of not being home invaded once a year. But maybe they've just concussed him and scrambled his brain beyond repair. You know, something better than death.
Duh, he's still alive! Alright, tie him up. I'm gonna make it look like a burglary.
But you can't forget about the mom, who we're also gonna count for this section. I guess the spirit of the season just has us feeling generous.
Mommy!
It's okay. It's okay. Brian, see if you can find some duct tape.
Well, if the seasonal depression hasn't already sunk in, it probably will now. And these next set of kills don't technically come from regular old Stewie, but a pure evil Stewie in The Hand That Rocks the Wheelchair, who is a part of Stewie, so we're gonna say it counts.
Oh my god, a baby! Are you okay?
He's terrifying, but dang, is his katana form not perfect? Not bad for someone who's only technically been alive for a few minutes. But his rampage doesn't stop there, as he also completely shatters the Kool-Aid Man.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
Oh yeah!
Look, Karma was gonna come back to bite that guy in his shiny reflective butt for causing all that property damage over the years. And that's not all, because in a deleted scene, it's heavily implied that he kills a kid who is bullying Stewie, along with the kid's parents. I guess the show has a violence threshold, and the embodiment of all of Stewie's most violent tendencies seem to have crossed it.
Oh my god.
Hey, enough. Stop.
But perhaps Stewie's most satisfying and long overdue kill came in the episode The Big Bang Theory, where he finally managed to take down his villainous half-brother Bertram.
So if you kill me, you're killing yourself and everything else that ever existed or will exist. Worth it!
Bertram needs to die, but don't you have to stand in awe at the level of hater he is? He's willing to destroy all of existence just to dunk on his mortal enemy. Luckily, that doesn't happen, with Stewie getting the upper hand and having Bertram's last moments be spent trying to comprehend a pun.
What's your favorite kind of bottled water? Uh-huh. Mine's Arrowhead.
And Stewie would finish off his stint as the evil Darth Vader with a redemption arc in episode 6, It's a Trap, throwing the Emperor into the heart of the Death Star. Well, that was pretty nice of him to do after he just spent 3 movies trying to kill Luke. It just goes to show what kind of perks you can have when you're related to a murderous machine man. But Stewie's next kill wouldn't be out of hatred, rather mercy, as he opts to spare Rupert from the horrors of a scary Queen album cover in Killer Queen.
We'll go together, on our own terms. See you on the other side. Oh my god!
I'm sure if he had listened to the album instead of just looking at it, he might have changed his tune. Hearing We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions is enough to give anyone the fire to keep on living. Plus, there are much scarier album covers out there. Ever seen that one Aphex Twin cover? I don't know what he's smiling about, but it can't be anything good. But once Stewie overcomes his fear of the album, he uses it to shock a would-be murderer into having a heart attack.
Why does robot hold dead people? Is that future or past?
Queen giveth and Queen taketh away. But things become a lot harder to calculate when Stewie and Penelope team up to cause mass destruction around the globe in Mr. and Mrs. Stewie.
I better make sure my wallet's okay.
Alright, well, that's definitely one for sure. Thanks for making things easy, Mort. But there are far more kills after that, with some targeting entire populations. Like, look at all those explosions.
We blew up the Great Wall of China, bombed the Eiffel Tower, and look at this note I sent off. Dear Pakistan, up yours.
Oh god, we're gonna have to do some math. I thought these days were behind me. Okay, so let's look at the worst case scenario for all this. Google says the Great Wall of China gets about 27,000 visitors a day, and that's not even including how many rangers and tour guides work there. Likewise, the Eiffel Tower has an average of 20,000 visitors a day. And then there's the Middle East. Again, worst case scenario, if everyone in that area is killed by the explosions, that would lead to a combined death toll of well over 2 billion people. And they aren't even done yet.
I have to destroy Copenhagen with a tidal wave.
And if he managed to kill everybody, that's a quaint 667,000 people on top of those few billion. And he did all of that for a girl. This might be the most historic case of being down bad the human race has ever seen. Fellas, have some self-respect for yourself. Sure, she's slaughtering entire civilizations with you today, but she could be doing the same thing with a different guy tomorrow. Know your worth. But in reality, this is a pretty eye-opening episode to see just how much that homicidal side of Stewie had left him. His association with Penelope, going along with her destructive and violent ambitions, honestly felt like Stewie was out of his element.
In the past, you've done terrible things, but it's always been about the pursuit of your greater goal of world domination.
Yeah, but Stewie is older now. Wiser. Who needs world domination when you found a girl who can dominate you? But this episode kinda showed that that side of Stewie can't really exist fluidly with his current characterization. He might still show brutal tendencies, but the root of where those come from has changed remarkably. In the past, it was for a goal of domination, but now they stem from something a little more emotional, whether it be out of childishness or love. And it's his love for Meg that drove him and Brian to rescue her from being trafficked in Lego My Mego, racking up a few kills in the process.
Oh no, I have shattered myself.
Okay, so that first one wasn't a direct kill, but it was caused by that guy fleeing Stewie and Brian, so I think we're gonna count this one. One less parkourer off the streets. Nature is healing. But Stewie's next 2 kills are a lot more intentional as he ends up shooting 2 human traffickers. Nature is super healing now. And Stewie's final kill of the episode comes at the expense of the young prince Meg is being sold to. It's too bad he could give her everything she wants and lead her down a long, prosperous life full of happiness. That's all well and good, but did you get consent from her 1-year-old brother? No? Then no brain functions for you.
No! Stewie?
Admittedly a pretty low kill count for a Taken-style adventure, but there weren't any egregious fence-hopping scenes, so all is well. And Stewie, playing the role of baby Jesus, reenacts one of the most well-known Bible stories in Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, that time Jesus used a fighter craft to kill a bunch of King Herod's soldiers.
I may have a f***ing mom, but I am one bad mother.
Bad one-liner aside, Stewie really manages to do some damage, taking out at least 12 of Herod's soldiers. Whatever happened to turning the other cheek? Well, he did say that he who is without sin may cast the first stone. Nothing's more sinless than a freshly born baby, and lasers and rocks are pretty interchangeable if you stop to really think about it.
You guys get him! You guys get him! I forgot something at the palace!
And we should really blame the guy who thought it was cool for a baby, and a drunk one at that, to drive a car, because it ends up costing the life of 3 guys en route to Vegas. Well, it sounds like they had a good time, so I guess that's all that matters. Does the building count too, since its name is apparently Ed Hardy? Nah, probably not, but you know what might actually count? Stewie convincing Brian to jump off a ledge.
3! I'm sorry, I can't! I want to live! I didn't really think we were gonna do it! You
Stewie did say it was the best possible way out of the situation they were in, so motivating Brian to jump could be considered killing him. He could have at least told him the best way to jump. Landing flat-backed on the concrete like that probably wasn't the instant release he was hoping for. But babies would end up being the victims, and Stewie is en sant, as parental negligence leads to the, I guess you could say, unfortunate demise of some of Brian and Stewie's mutant children.
Well, you better get one, and not writing a real job.
Hey guys, you wanna maybe get that little guy out of the water? No? Okay, well, he's gone. Yeah, while Stewie doesn't directly kill any of his children, his negligence, along with Brian's, leads them to an early grave.
4? I thought we were down to 5.
Yeah, the deaf one didn't hear Joe's lawnmower.
And they weren't even gonna make it that long probably, so like a really early grave. So they started with 7, but after a while they're down by 3, leaving 4 little monstrosities running around out there without their 2 dads. Kinda seems like a repeating trend in your life, huh, Brian? And episodes like this would be a repeating theme in many of Stewie's later episodes. Not nearly as disgusting, but just as emotional. Emotions can be gross too, but not that gross. Many of Stewie's episodes around this time delved into themes of insecurity and identity. He didn't just impregnate himself with Brian's children for the fun of it. He did it because he felt he was losing his relationship with Brian, something he's grown to cherish more than anything over the years. He's still the smartest resident in the house, but his better judgment begins to be overshadowed by an insecure desire to be loved. And you know, some people die along the way. Kinda like when Stewie continued his trend of killing by slipping into the role of George Milton from Of Mice and Men, who does exactly what you think he's gonna do to Lenny in High School English.
Bye-bye, Lenny. Good night, kids. Good luck with those book reports.
Genuinely curious to know if anyone ever used a Family Guy parody as their basis for understanding a book. Well, let me tell you, the real ending to Of Mice and Men is a lot sadder and has way less talk about opening a bed and breakfast. That's a post-Dust Bowl invention. Back then, you could only dream about getting a home slightly bigger than an outhouse and only half as smelly. And Stewie would also show little remorse when he allowed his child psychologist, Dr. Cecil Bridgefield, to die of a heart attack.
Why aren't you getting my medication?
Yeah, listen, you're not gonna like this.
Look, you gotta do what you gotta do to make sure your secrets go to the grave. Nobody ever said it had to be your grave. If you'd heard Stewie's real voice, you'd probably understand why he wants to be so secretive.
This is how I talk. The accent is nothing more than an affectation, a coat of armor to get me through the day.
Even still, this is perhaps one of Stewie's cruelest kills, coupled by the fact that he could have saved him but chose not to, and opted for the doctor to die a slow, agonizing death rather than offering him any mercy. I think the next time someone wants to psychoanalyze Stewie's brain, it should be done on an operating table with his skull popped open.
I did something awful.
Do you want to talk about it?
No.
And while you may have different opinions on the execution of this conversation-only episode, it does bring up a good point about Stewie's character and why he's changed over the years. Stewie exists in an unnatural position. He's too smart for kids his own age, but too overlooked for anyone older. Feeling as though he has no place of belonging, he builds barriers to protect himself, such as his highbrow demeanor, his cynical nature, and yes, even his accent. Maybe I need to try out an accent sometime. Would you guys still love me if I became aggressively Italian all of a sudden? But this episode reframes Stewie's character arc as perhaps him finally opening himself up to the world as the flamboyant, sassy boy he was meant to be, rather than the cold intellectual he believed he had to be. Glad he figured that out, but did he really need to let a doctor die for it? And while playing the role of Sherlock Holmes, Stewie lands a pretty gnarly trick shot on who he initially believes to be Professor Moriarty in V is for Mystery.
Watson, the scepter!
I guess you could say Moriarty technically shot himself, but I'd like to say Sherlock hit him with his own version of a dead man's volley. Plus, it takes some real skill to pull that off, so we definitely don't want to deprive him of the win. But Stewie's next kill was only an accident, as after he and Brian come into a little money, they decide to try pantsing director James Cameron while he's deep sea diving in The Wolf of Wall Street, only for things to take a turn for the worse. Yeah, I saw that happen on the playground once too. Pantsing is no joke and should only be performed by professionals. It also probably shouldn't be performed by a machine with enough mechanical power to turn a human into goo. And in what was probably a long overdue killing, Stewie pierces his father's eyes with an arrow and throws it away.
Hey, little guy, how's the sorting going? I'm not getting rid of my ribbons!
Of course, this is just for a one-off, non-canon joke, but we still think it's worth counting because you just know he's been wanting to do that for years. Kinda weird that his first on-screen death of a parent that isn't in a simulation is Peter and not Lois. He's really never gonna do it, huh? I'm not one to throw around the word washed a ton, but Stewie's looking pretty squeaky clean right now. But believe it or not, Stewie would actually get a kill in on Lois in Heartburn, even though it's just done for the sake of a parody.
It's just been revoked.
You know, if you just ignore the fact that there are two Loises and neither of them has the right hair color, this could be seen as a pretty monumental day for Stewie. It's too bad it took him this long to figure out the best way to kill her wasn't with a laser gun hidden in a sandwich or a floating drill machine. Oh yeah, and Stewie actually had another kill in this episode, accidentally stabbing Joe as Mercutio in the Romeo and Juliet parody.
There he is! There's the dumbass I've been looking for!
Well, at least Stewie didn't take away his legs this time. Just let the man die from a wound created by the world's largest toothpick. Hey, if it wasn't the sword, the Black Plague would have gotten him in a few days anyway. And Stewie would extend his bloodlust to the rest of the family and rich old Stewie, killing them all with a big explosion after they attempt to trick him.
Chris should be lighting his cigar right about...
And believe it or not, they're the ones that got off easy. In this future, Brian's given a pill that prevents him from dying, so he just gets to live with the suffering he's enduring. Only the best treatment for Stewie's best friend. Unfortunately, none of this is canon, as this entire future episode was just a daydream from Stewie. However, since it takes place in the bulk of the episode, we'll go ahead and count those 4 deaths. Honestly, they're in the running for one of the most justified kills on this list. Can't have leeches in the family if you want to keep your blood. And in another non-canon kill, Stewie decides to whack Brian, Godfather Part 2 style, and La Famiglia guy. If you have a better response to someone eating your cookies, well then I'd love to hear it. But what else can you do when your family breaks your heart? I feel like their interaction probably played out the same way as it did in the movie, although Stewie probably planted a much longer, wetter kiss on Brian. And Brian would once again be Stewie's target, this time at the very end of Brief Encounter. Also, Stewie could recreate a popular meme.
Hey, you want to end the show with a to-be-continued meme?
I don't even know what that...
Yeah, maybe just disregard the fact that those memes hit their peak in the mid-2010s, and this episode didn't come out until 2021. Always got their fingers on the pulse of meme culture, this show. But don't worry, Brian will be all stitched back together for the next episode, so for now, you can go to bed with the image of Brian's limbs being ripped apart like a gingerbread man. Sweet dreams! And while playing the role of Hannibal Lecter, an Oscars guy, Stewie stays true to the character and peels off a man's skin to escape prison.
Oh, hey, Sarge. Your wife called and said it was urgent.
Oh, okay.
I guess there's a slight chance there's just a skinless man taking a nap in the other room, but I think it's pretty safe to say no one could survive being skinned alive like that. And I don't know much about the situation with that guy's wife, but from the sounds of it, he might have been getting skinned alive today anyway. And Stewie would once again have to put down someone close to him in Peter Pumpkin Cheater when he brought Rupert to life, only to kill him not long after. Man, if I've got to be put down, just make sure a tearful Cher rendition is the last thing I ever hear. And if at all possible, make sure I'm not being drowned in a disgusting public park toilet. One of those fancy Japanese public toilets would be okay, I guess, if you're in a real pinch. I know this is a lot to ask, but even when I'm dying, I need to make sure I'm keeping up appearances. And Stewie would ruin his appearance as a good boy when he accidentally vaporizes Meg right before Christmas in Gift of the White Guy.
Transgender immigrants are dropping sexy M&Ms from Chinese balloons.
This is worth being...
Now, there's somewhat of a chance that Santa may have actually thanked Stewie for doing this, but Stewie is actually pretty regretful. Whether it's genuine regret or just a panic-induced response to realizing he may never get presents again is up to you, but Santa does him a solid and brings her back by the end. No, well, no harm, no foul. Meg doesn't even seem to mind dying all that much. Good to know for later.
You must have a lot of questions.
As long as I get a bowling alley calzone, I'm straight.
And so, if you were to take Stewie at his absolute worst, including all his variants, you would end up with a whopping estimated kill count of 4,714,141. Dang, that was honestly a little lower than I expected. So even though Stewie isn't exactly portrayed as the crazed wannabe dictator like he was at his inception, we can still see that death and destruction never really went out of style for him. This really speaks to how the show views Stewie, as he's treated as a barometer of sorts. As the show changes and evolves, so does he, often being used as the mouthpiece for the show's commentary, critiques, and criticism of the modern world. This makes Stewie incredibly malleable, capable of being whatever the show needs him to be. A hero? He's got you. A villain? He's more than happy. A silly little guy? He's already got the perfect outfit for it. So while this hasn't made Stewie the most consistent character in the show, it has made him the one with perhaps the most longevity, allowing him to be beloved by many no matter what form he takes. And while Stewie has changed a ton over the course of the series, it's easy to see that his violent tendencies never actually went away all that much. Maybe his intentions and reasonings may have altered and shifted through the years, but one thing remains constant. That is a deeply disturbed baby. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, let us know if we should do another kill count or character evolution video down in the comments. And don't forget to leave a like and hit the subscribe button for more Family Guy videos you won't want to miss.